Okay, so, and I won't go into all of those resource variables. You can go look at the Popeye video or the Popeye essay in the iDrive if you want to review those. And it's also a good place to do a timeline or a Gantt chart or a flow chart per network when you're doing the plan and the implementation of the plan. And evaluation. Of course, I know you have formative evaluation through all the steps and summative evaluation at the end. So those kinds of things would be your problem-solving steps. And some models will have more than just these 5 steps of problem-solving. There's 7-step, 9-step, 10-step, 20-step problem-solving. Generally, what they will do is they will simply expand one of these steps. Like for example, in describing the problem, you might have a part of it that is an introduction. It tells the history of the problem, the needs assessment, and narrowing down the problem to goals, all of that. So each one of these could be subdivided into sub-steps. Finally, you would want to have a conclusion. And the conclusion could be a classic conclusion where you're simply restating the topic, but usually it also has an element of reflection. So you might have a conclusion and a reflection, or the conclusion in itself might be a reflection. Telling what you've learned, what you did well, what you would do different next time, what you wished you had done, things of that sort. So that would be a problem-solving essay. Other kinds of essays would be argument, comparison, contrast, where comparison includes contrast, and that you're telling similarities and differences in the classic meaning of comparison. But a lot of people think of this one as being telling the similarities and this one telling the differences. But, truly a comparison will do both. Contrast only tells the differences, okay? And you'll find some sources that will disagree with my description of these, and that's fine. I'm just trying to give you an introduction and a brief overview of this. Besides comparison and contrast, you might do a historical essay. Trying to think of some of the other types that you would do. But of these, the one that you will probably do the most for your graduate paper will be either descriptive or problem solving. And especially those of you in the school administration program, when you get to the end and you have to do a program improvement, a curriculum improvement paper, this one is going to be the key to what you do, okay? Now, a lot of what you do in your classes, sometimes you'll just describe something that you're doing. Another typical one, yes, question?
Can you kind of go over what the difference between a B-level paper and an A-level paper is?
Great, yeah. Sure. The kind of things, because to get into the program, all of you are people who had at least B-plus averages, and most of you are A-plus students. You don't get into graduate school if you're not, right? So if you get a B or C paper back, for a lot of you, a B paper is what a average student would feel as badly about a C or D paper, right? So here's the kind of things that often happens. That research, just a research paper, and really all of these are AR there. Sorry, I was having a hard time writing backwards with my arm in that position. But so a research paper like you did second semester freshman, where you have to go out and analyze. Generally, in most of these, you're going to have research. And so the reason I wanted to add that one is because that's one of the things that people leave out of these that knocks their grade down. They simply tell their own ideas, and they don't try to expand their ideas by getting some outside sources or talking to some outside people, okay? So, if I was going to tell you how to ensure that you get an A paper, let me first, I'll do this in a kind of a descriptive way. I'll go through what the elements are, okay? And a descriptive Descriptive could either be, there's two different kinds of descriptive. I could have divided this into two subcategories. One is describe something as it is, or you could describe something as it has grown or changed, which would be over time, right? So descriptive can be at one point in time, or it can be over time. It can be more a process paper. So some books will consider process as a type of descriptive essay. Okay? I'll put it as a separate one. With this one being descriptive at one point in time, this being descriptive over a certain time period. That's where you need a Gantt chart telling all the steps and how much time, where each step occurred in time, right? So, most of your papers really might be more like this. Problem solving and process. Describe the process of solving the problem. So, you know, these do overlap. So one thing that will knock off some points generally is that you don't even have a heading or a cover sheet. So what's a good rule of thumb? Well, my professors, when I was working on my master's, they generally said that if it was 2 pages or more, 2+ pages, that you needed a cover sheet. And so one of the things that you need to do, you know, we don't generally tell graduate students how to do a cover sheet, because at the graduate level, we consider you people, especially if you're going to be leaders in schools, teacher leaders or administrative leaders, that you know how to go find this. And so if you are school administration or psychology or teacher education major, you're going to look up the APA format for a cover sheet. If you are an English ed major, you're going to look up the MLA formula for a cover sheet. And I don't care which one of those you follow, as long as you are following the one for your master's. Okay? If you are a journalism major, you might, I think journalism follows Chicago style, right? I mean, I'm not a journalism major, I don't know. But you need to know that. So that's why when people ask me these questions, I often say, you know, that's your job. You know, you are the researcher, you're the scholar here. I don't teach this class knowing all of these cover sheets, but if you give me one and I suspect that it doesn't follow some style, then I will take the time to go look up the style that your major should follow, okay? So a cover sheet, and if it's, say, just one page or less, so 1 page or less, then I would say a heading. And even a heading has an APA or MLA or Chicago format, okay? Then, that your paper is well developed, that it follows normal APA, MLA, Chicago format on spacing, that you check your grammar, you check your spelling. Certainly if you have some spelling errors or grammar errors, if you're writing run-on sentences or incomplete sentences, that's going to cost you some points, okay? So content, if you have great content, but you don't have very good grammar and spelling, that's probably going to be a B or C paper, even if it's great content. So that's why, you know, I grew up as a lower class, hillbilly, migrant farmer upbringing. And so I love dialect. And if you make sure that you're putting in there, you know, if you put quotes around it and you write someone's quote in dialect, that's fine. But everything else in that paper should be written standard American English. Okay? If you're giving me a Cherokee quote or a Lakota quote or a Hispanic quote or a German quote, and you want to put it in that language, that's fine. But give me a translation. Okay? So, content needs to be good, spelling needs to be good, so just standard rules of writing an essay. But make sure you have these things first and then your essay. Essays generally will have the steps of an introduction, a body, well developed, and a conclusion. Sorry about that, I'm thinking faster than I can write. And a conclusion. So how long should it be? You know, the best answer in the world is kind of like the highway patrolman says, okay, I know it's posted 70, but if the streets were icy, you should have been going at the speed at which it was safe, okay? So the length needs to be long enough to cover the topic well. So if your topic is way too broad and it needs to be a 185-page paper like my dissertation to cover the topic well, you don't want to do that in my class. You want to narrow that topic enough that you can cover it. Generally, most 100-point essays in college classes are going to be in that somewhere probably 3 to 12-page length. Might be a little shorter, might be a little longer, but that's generally what it takes to cover a well-narrowed, well-focused paper where you don't get too wordy. So intro, body, and conclusion. And in all three of those, you need to always show that you are an educator scholar, that you are trying to grow beyond what you know right now, that you are continually growing. So that's part of scholarship, is opening yourself up to the world of ideas. So you need references. If you don't have references, that means to me that you probably, even if it's historical, that you just told your own memory and you didn't take the time, you waited until Saturday or Sunday and just simply told me your memory of what happened. You didn't take time to talk to anyone else that remembered to make sure you added to your memory. You didn't go look up any documents about what it was you were remembering. Descriptive, you didn't look at anyone else's description. Problem solving, you didn't go look up some of the applicable theories or similar problems that other people had solved. You tried to reinvent the wheel all alone. And so that to me usually means that you are being like a laissez-faire leader who's waiting till the very last minute and then putting out a fire, and you're treating your assignments that way. Or it could mean that you're a very autocratic style people who always thinks that only you know the right answer. So that's a warning flag. That's a warning flag for a graduate level scholar, that you really haven't grown to the level of graduate level thinking. Okay? Same way if somebody comes to me and says, you know, Dr. Farinelli, I've been all the way through the school administration program and I have no idea of any problems in my school that I want to write about. And I have to wonder, what did you do in your research class? What did you do in your curriculum development class? What did you do in your leadership class? And how could you get all the way to your internship and have no idea? So I'm just telling you that if you don't have all of this there, it's just warning flags that maybe somehow you have gotten through our program and haven't learned what graduate level thinking and writing is like. So does that answer your question?
I believe so.
Okay, I mean, did I give you some good rationale to where you can understand why I want all of this in a paper?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and probably if you go do some research, which I encourage you to do, you're going to find some other types of papers. But most of what you do, you're going to be describing the process of helping people to solve student problems, curriculum problems, teacher problems, parental involvement problems, community action, teaching your kids how to be involved in service leadership. And so I think we'll take a break right there. I think I answered your question.